Hello, my friends. Dorothy here. We're going to talk about the full moon in the sign of Sagittarius. That's on May 23rd. So let's get started. We're just going to hop right into this. We're going to share the screen with you. Now, one of the things, let me get my face out of the way. One of the things that's really important with this full moon is we've got 4 other aspects that are happening simultaneously. So on that day. So I want to add them in at the end. And I'm writing all of this out, and it's over on my blog on my website, DorothyMorganAstrologer.com. Click on the blog. Hey, if you're on my mailing list, I would love you to get on that. It will come to your inbox when it shows up. Let's get started. What does this full moon in Sagittarius represent? Let's get my face out of the way. Well, first off, I want to start off by saying, and I put this on my YouTube channel recently as well. It's just I constantly, regularly, full moon, new moon, all the content I do is really for practical insight. I do my best not to focus on the fearful aspects of what any of these planets can be. Yes, there are negative ways to use anything, even the most positive of aspects. However, that's not what I like to focus on. You guys, I've been doing this since 2008. I think it's 2008 or 2006. I can't remember. The written forecast, as well as I've been here on YouTube since 2011. And you guys in Patreon, we've just been doing this a couple of years. And so the point I'm making here, why I'm talking about this is because it's about openness. And this Sagittarius moon is about this. It's about openness. It's about practicality. It's about your truth and being authentic to who you are and being authentic to what your truth is. And when we have the full moon in Sag, it's just once a year. But when we have this full moon in Sagittarius, it's just the culmination. Everything's coming together finally to a point, to a crescendo, and that's May 23rd, where all of the things that have been building for such a long time are coming. The full moon illuminates everything. It shows us what it is we need to see. So we're able, through that profound awareness, through that awareness of a full moon, we're able to see what is working for us in our own authenticity, our own exploration of our love, our lives, of who we are, and how we can present that and share that with those who are open to hearing it. And because we don't have to be so open and honest and put ourselves in a vulnerable position. I'm not saying that we need to do that. But what I am saying with this full moon in Sagittarius and what it's encouraging us to do is to, really be authentic to you. You may not be able to speak your truth to everybody around you, but do it in the way that is safest for you, of course, and then be truthful and honest to yourself. So you're able to step into more of who you are. So we're able to grow and learn and explore. All of these things is what Sagittarius is asking from us. And being that we're in this full moon phase, it gives us the opportunity to really see what's working, what path we want to walk down through our own exploration of what our truth is and what we love and what we value. And it brings us further and further down our path of authenticity and being who we are. So that's what that full moon in the sign of Sagittarius represents. It represents the Gemini energy is about the information that you hear, the information you're listening, and the information you want to share. And that Sagittarius energy, I love the opposition of Gemini and Sag. We can see it in the world with some people on how it can be used very dysfunctionally, and that is the truth. But I can also, being a Gemini myself and having the dearest of Sagittarius friends, some of you know her, Kim Rogers Gallagher. She was my first teacher. Yes, we're still in touch. And I talk to her almost every week. And the point is like, it's just the way that mutable energy of gathering information, Sun in Gemini, and then is it truthful for me, the moon in Sag? Is that my truth? Is that authentic to me? That's what we're looking at right here, right now. Yeah, with that full moon in the sign of Sagittarius. Now, I'm going to go grab my notes just for me. I don't think you're going to be able to see them, which is fine. My notes are the blog. So you guys also know that I work with the lunar gestation cycle regularly. And we always do this deep here on Patreon. And when it's not on Patreon, we're going to go to it. We're going to go right there right now. And what the lunar gestation cycle is, a long 3-year cycle. And it starts with every new moon. So we have many of them coming together, all of this working all at the same time. Some of them are important for us and some of them aren't. And so this Sagittarius lunar cycle started back on, let me get the date. Oh heck. I can't find it. I don't think I put it in the blog. Started on November 23rd, 2022, when we had a new moon at 1 degree of Sagittarius. So 18 months ago, look back. What were you initiating? What did you start? What were you learning about yourself that starts to get you to a place of authenticity, right? I was wicked sick on that week. First time I caught that nasty COVID. And so I learned a lot about myself, being all by myself, being nice and sick. It taught me a lot. Yes, it did. 9 months after that. But what did you learn? That was just my brief little story. What did you learn? What was important for you? What helped you? What helped you to start to get in alignment with what you wanted to know about yourself, your authentic self? Because sometimes when we're in a new moon, we don't know what's going on. Okay. We can set intentions and goals, but we're not always totally sure that we're doing what we want to be doing or setting goals based off of what's important. So that is what that represents back in November of 2022. 9 months after that, was August 24th, 2023. We had the first quarter moon at 1 degree of Sagittarius, where we would start to push things forward, to work hard on things and know what's working, what isn't. So through stress, through work, through struggle, through striving, we get through this second part of the lunar gestation cycle. That was 9 months ago. And now we're up to the full moon in Sagittarius right now. And this full moon is, again, fully, completely opening us to see what's important for us, to see where our authentic selves lies and what we want to continue to strive for. And as full moons are well known for, it's like we get to release what is no longer useful. I find the releasing piece, we can have awareness around that releasing piece at the full moon, but basically for me, really releasing and letting things go, I wait until the very final lunar phase, which is just 2.5 to 3 days before every new moon. That's the balsamic lunar phase. That's when we release, we surrender. And we just get into ourselves then. To me, that's better than releasing at a full moon, but you do you. So that is kind of that's where I'm going to wrap up this piece of what the full moon represents, because again, we're aware of where we are walking, what we're walking towards, what's important for you in your authentic life, and being authentic in the information that you share, the information that you read, that you know, that you understand. Okay, that is the full moon in Sagittarius. Now, simultaneously, we have, I'm going to do a couple more charts. Let me make sure I am sharing the right screen. Let me double check. Good, it does. Yes, terrific. Here is Venus conjunct Jupiter at the final degree of Taurus. This is big. We have a lot of planets at the final degree of signs right now. Go ahead, let's look, and I'll tell you what that means. 29 degrees here, 29 degrees there, and Neptune at 29. So we have Venus and Jupiter conjunct at 29 degrees of Taurus. And we also have, is that the next one? We also have Venus sextile Neptune, and then a little while later, yes, the Earth is spinning. That's why this chart moves. We have Jupiter sextile Neptune, okay? So let's just go back to this first chart. Venus, Jupiter conjunct at 29, and Venus, Jupiter are sextile Neptune. All three of these aspects are happening just as we are just before the full moon. right? But we're really in that awareness in that phase. And so what does this represent? So Venus in the final degree of Taurus conjunct Jupiter in the final degree of Taurus. I love this. These two benefics, and Venus in her own sign at that final degree is like really big. It's expansive. But sometimes when we have planets at the final degree, we feel like we're missing something, right? It's a pivotal moment of ending and beginning. So it's that transition of completing something. It's the end of the sign, it's the end of the cycle, but then we're about to begin something else because those planets are getting ready to shift into new signs. This is happening at the full moon. The full moon, when we are completely and totally aware of what's going on, or we should be. If you aren't, please sit down and ask yourself some questions, do some meditations, do some journaling, whatever it is you like to do to get your head together and your heart together. And when we have Jupiter and Venus conjunct at 29 degrees of Taurus, this is like things come to a crescendo, right? It's intense. We're just of what we love, what we value, and we can absolutely feel very optimistic. Now, for some people, so how do we feel optimistic? This is the practical applications of this. This just means it's like really sit in gratitude, or if you can't sit still, because life is busy. So who has 15 minutes even to sit still some days? But I want you to be aware and grateful for the things that you have in your life, because sometimes that just slips by. And so if this day comes and goes and you say, I didn't feel anything big, I didn't feel anything that was, expansive or generous or abundant, I want you to create that energy too, because really embodying some of that is simply what it can be for some people. Okay. It doesn't mean every one of us is going to have these major abundant days. It's definitely, if it's in a good position in your own astrology, it can be a very fortunate day. Fortunate things can come to your awareness and really light up your life. So we have all of that. I know sometimes I see, even personally, when I see something really big happening in my own chart, and then it's like it falls flat, and I'm like, what was the lesson? Because sometimes I just want things to be what they are. And so the reason that's the reason I explain this to you, is that there are times when things are, even though this is an excellent transit, and things can really come to a head in a very good way. It can also, a situation can happen where what comes to a head in regard to gratitude is being very grateful for something. So something can be taken away, and that shows us that, oh my God, I'm so grateful that this hasn't happened, or I'm grateful that I have this. So it's not coming from a place of fear. I don't want to instill any of that in anybody. There's plenty of that going around. Instagram astrologers. Not all of them. Just the ones with the apps that scream at you, fear. I want you just to use this in a space of abundance and gratitude and joy and beauty and just loving the world around you. Next, we have Venus and Taurus making that sextile to Neptune, and Jupiter making that sextile to Neptune. Both of these amplify. Let me change those charts. Here's this one, Venus with Neptune, that just happens at just before 7 a.m. Eastern time. There it is. This amplifies our creative expressions. So this is one way that we can just really be in a beautifully wonderful place. I would definitely look at Thursday, the 23rd, as a day that hopefully you can be open, you can be creative, you can express an awful lot, just because it feels wonderful, right? It really feels wonderful and gives us an opportunity to get out of our heads and just allow things, like really be yourself, like, abstract painting, or just something that you can just get into who you are and discover your truth just a little bit more. That's Venus and Jupiter sextile Neptune. Yeah, it's very sensitive too. So you want to pay attention to that. That alignment is about, the creativity and stepping into that during this full moon. but it's also about compassion, flow, optimism, faith, understanding. Jupiter is the traditional ruler of Pisces. Before we knew Neptune existed, Jupiter was the ruler of Pisces. So Jupiter is actually incredibly comfortable in that sign or connecting to that sign. And as it's doing that from Taurus, it's just like this is like a wonderful opportunity for a lot of people to step onto a new spiritual path, because that's more about their authentic self, right? Starting a blog about your spiritual practice, writing a book or whatever, or however you want to do it. Blog or a podcast, anything that just tells your story of your journey, your soul's journey. These are really important things that we can do. So that final degree of all these planets is just such a pivotal turning point. Venus does enter the sign of Gemini at 4:30 on this day, 4:30 in the afternoon. That's Eastern time. And it's just a couple more days. On May 25th is when Jupiter enters Gemini. Neptune's not going to get to Aries for a while because it goes retrograde soon. But Venus and Jupiter, within 2 days of this full moon, Jupiter enters Gemini as well. So that will be pretty intense. Jupiter's not a fan of that sign because it's Gemini, it's opposite ruling sign. So it gives it an opportunity. We're going to have, well, I'll do a separate video on that, Jupiter and Gemini. But in the meantime, with this full moon, with all of these sextiles, a couple of trines going on here, the exception of that south node, which we can just take out for a second, we still have a pretty tight pattern going on here. Of course, the moon is there. So this is like a bowl pattern. Hey, let's look. What pattern is this? It is a bowl pattern. That's correct. Sometimes I forget the pattern names. It's not part of my repertoire. It is a bowl pattern. So that just means we're still focusing on, just half of the astrology chart at this point, at the zodiac at this point in time. So that is where we are with that. So I'm going to stop my share. So take this full moon and work on you defining who you are, listening and playing and exploring new things. Sagittarius is always encourages that. And just stay walking your path and being authentic to yourself. That's the most important thing. Blessings, everybody. And hey, if you're on YouTube, hit the thumbs up, subscribe. 80 over almost 90% of you guys on YouTube who watch this are not subscribers. Oh my goodness, that's a huge number. Love a few more subscribers. Love a little boost. Sometimes I stagnate on YouTube, on Facebook, on Instagram. It's just the way it is. The algorithms are baffling at the least. All right, that's my gig. Blessings, everybody. Namaste.